Many dimensions and aspects of God's creation are converging within this space and time as we perceive it within God's creation. This convergence is the human being of planet Earth. This convergence is the human being of planet Earth, which the human being of planet Earth is the acclamation of many energies spawning from many dimensions and aspects, transcended realities of God's creation. As Ashley has shown before, the human being is an amalgamation or accumulation of many dimensions and aspects of transcended realities and beyond of God's creation, or the concept of God's creation. The human beings of planet Earth will begin to perceive the many dimensions of God's creation being manifested through humanity. And this manifestation of the many dimensions and aspects and concepts of God's creation being manifested through humanity will appear at first to be calamitous. The many dimensions and aspects of God's creation being manifested through the human beings of planet Earth will at first appear to be calamitous. Out of this calamity will come the harmony, the harmonious energy that is the unconditional love of our Creator, of God, Goddess, the new Creator energy, which will assist with the reformation and upliftment of all of God, all of God's creation. Every single human being on planet Earth is playing their part, their role in this process, whether consciously or unconsciously. And there will always be levels of parts that we're playing that we're unconscious to. Every single human being is playing their part in this unfoldment in God's creation. How do you play your part? You follow your intuition and you are, you just are, and you follow your intuition. And you are assisting with this unfoldment of God's creation, to assist with reformation of God's creation, the upliftment of God's creation. The realization that the degrees of separation between myself, ourselves, and what we would call an apparition or a ghost or spirit. The degrees of separation are illusionary. I'm having this realization as I can perceive greater dimensions of myself. I can perceive myself in a more widened scope, a fuller picture, and I can perceive how the degrees of separation between ourselves and spirit and ghosts is as I channel at the beginning of my spiritual awakening, is an illusion. It's a separation that is perpetuated by our thought patterns in our minds. And the notion of death or funerals is theater. The notion of death and funerals is theater, as transitioning from I want to say that many cultures perceive death and transitioning from this plane of duality differently. I would like to celebrate transitioning from duality consciousness. I would like to celebrate it. I would like to be in jubilee, but there are dimensions and aspects of myself that still feel sorrow and sadness. From sorrow and sadness about transcending duality consciousness or birthing into new dimensions of self. I also channeled at the beginning of my expedited spiritual awakening ascension process that our dimensions and aspects of ourselves fear spiritual enlightenment, dimensions and aspects of ourselves fear transcending duality consciousness, because it reminds dimensions and aspects of ourself energetically of what we term as death. At this moment, I am in a good amount of sorrow. I am feeling a good amount of grief as I'm grieving dimensionality of myself in which I've transcended, and I can perceive this. And I want to grab onto things. I want to stake claim to things. I want to hold on to dynamics and people and relationships in this grief. But I'm going to decide to choose differently. I'm going to decide to let things go and let it be. I'm going to go into meditation. I wanted to record this segment of Kingdom Things, of this Kingdom Things podcast installment, because I feel as if, this, what I'm feeling, is something that we're going to feel repetitively as we, as a collective called humanity, ascend into oneness consciousness, or the understanding that we have never been separate from God, our divinity, from all of God's creation. What if the notion of death and dying and transcending this reality through death and dying is a paradigm in which we created with our own humanism understandings of what is. What if death, dying, and departing from earth is a paradigm in which humans created through our precepts, synapses, and understandings in which the human of planet Earth created? And what if this paradigm of death and dying and departing from the earth plane is not only a paradigm in which the human of planet Earth created through its synapse, perceptions, and understandings of what is, but what if we're able to transcend this paradigm of death, departing from the earth plane, departing from loved ones? This transcendence of the notion of death, departing from our loved ones, departing from the earth plane, is oneness consciousness. I had a vision a while back of my daddy, whom has transcended the paradigm of duality, the paradigm of, departing the earth plane, death, the paradigm of separation from God, from God's creation. My daddy has transcended, my father has transcended the paradigm of the separation of self from God. Had a vision of my daddy, my father, visiting myself and my family and my husband in our home. Mind you, I'm not married yet. I'm married at the soul, but I'm not married in the physical reality yet, which I'm excited for, because I'm excited for that. I see the future, so I'm excited. I'm excited for that. I know that's coming. I'm excited for it. But I had a vision, a vision of my father, my daddy visiting my home, myself, my husband, my family, my other dimensions of my family. My father, my daddy has transcended the consciousness of being separate from God, from God's creation. What does that mean? We are stepping into paradigms in which we can shift in and out of paradigms in order to welcome dimensionalities of ourselves into our reality. Dimensionalities of ourself that are outside of the boxes and paradigms in which we once called reality. What am I saying? The notion of the rapture in biblical texts of, the dead rising, is as death is a paradigm in which we are being called to transcend in order to join and hold hands and create and love and be with, reconvene with all of God's creation, including those loved ones whom we have called as perished. This is my personal journal entry from March 27, 2023. We perceive physicality, therefore we perceive separation. As we perceive and activate spirit, we will perceive wholeness and oneness. I got like a wave of energies and sense of empowerment and upliftment with this new level of understanding of wholeness, of oneness within self. Wholeness, oneness within self. Wholeness, oneness within self. We perceive physicality, therefore we perceive separation. So let's say there's a game board, right? There's a board game. There's a board game, and then you have the little pawns that you move around the board. We perceive reality as like the little pawns that you move around the board, right? So if my pawn is on one side of the board and your pawn is on the other side of the board and that person's pawn is on another side of the board, we perceive our beingness as being separate. But if we understand that the board game, the whole layout of the board game is the oneness of all things, then we're able to perceive that we're not separate, but we are operating at different dimensions of the oneness of the wholeness. Or we're in different spaces of the oneness of the wholeness. And then understanding that the oneness and the wholeness is only a mirror of your truth, you're able to understand that you assist with creating the oneness and the wholeness external, as well as the importance of the attainment, understanding, and operation through the oneness and the wholeness of self. I'm content with the story. Who am I not to forgive me? I'm content with this story. Who am I not to forgive me? I am content with the story. Who am I not to forgive me? I was guided to some texts in the Nag Hammadi library, the Nag Hammadi scriptures and Nag Hammadi literature. And the texts refer to the story of Sophia, Adam, and Eve. Sophia creating a creation without her counterpart because she wanted to create something on her own. And what she created was a creation of tyranny, or a creation which rebelled against natural creation, quote unquote natural creation, or God. I'm content with the story. Who am I not to forgive me? I held so much regret and resentment and anger towards myself. I held so much regret, anger, and resentment towards myself. I held so much regret, anger, and resentment towards myself, and I projected onto others outside of myself. I'm content with the story. Who am I not to forgive me? I listened to the Nag Hammadi scripture about, or text about the rulers of the earth, the evildoers of the earth plane, the rulers of the earth plane, and full circle moment, alert, we are the rulers, the evildoers of the earth plane. We are the rulers, the evildoers of the earth plane. We are humanity, the rulers, the evildoers of the earth plane. We live in a universe of polarities, duality, the universal principle of duality, polarity. So if God, our creator, the most high creator, the most high vibrational frequency, the most high white light creator energy, is the polarity of the light. The dark, the polarity to the most high is, in which I've channeled this before, our humanism or our egos. And how our humanism, our egos manifest in our reality, so in which we can see ourselves. The way our egos manifest in our reality to mirror ourselves, so in which we can perceive ourselves. The way in which our egos manifest in our realities, so that in which we can perceive ourselves, are through the oppressive systems, are through the oppressive evildoers in which we perceive in our reality, are through the networks that were created to keep humanity in a low vibrational consciousness. I am content with this story. Who am I not to forgive me? I held so much anger, sorrow, sadness, judgment towards myself because of my story, because of the seemingly decisions I made, because of the things I had experienced throughout my story. As I channeled in timeline jumping with the assistance of Mahavatar Babaji, the story is, in our stories, every moment that we breathe, we are writing our story. Every moment that we are, we are unfolding into the beauty that is our story. So we wait for these milestones in these big events, such as meeting your soulmate or divine counterpart or the person you are going to spend your life with. We wait for a big event and milestones, such as getting married to that person that you're choosing to and want to, and are exuberantly excited about spending your life with. We wait for these milestones, such as finding out you're pregnant with your first child or your child in this family that you're building, or milestones such as career, big career happenings, big career creations, big purchases in which you dreamt of purchasing someday, one day, traveling to a faraway land or a close land in which you dreamed of visiting someday, one day, or doing something spontaneous in which you never thought you would do, but you're happy that you did it because it introduced you into new elements of yourself and new elements of what reality can be. We wait for these events and splashes of spontaneity to be happy, to be exuberant, to be blissful. Every moment that we're breathing, every moment that we're unfolding to our creation, to our story. We are building towards the big events. We are building towards the spontaneity. We are building towards everything that we can envision and more. I am content with this story. Who am I not to forgive me? Everything that I went to, everything that I've been through. Ashley, release the anger. Ashley, release the resentment. Ashley, release the judgment of self. I am content with this story. Who am I not to forgive me? Once we allow ourselves to come to terms with the reality and actuality that everything in creation, regardless of how you perceive that dimension and aspect of creation, everything in creation has a high purpose. Everything in creation is an orchestration of the Most High Creator energy. Humanity, who are we to judge anyone? Humanity, who are we to try to cancel anyone? Humanity, who are we to have something to say about anyone's lives? If we don't understand and see that we are the problem, we are perpetuating the problem. We are the creators, perpetuators of the problem. and that it's time to elevate into a new dimension of self, a dimension of self that realizes and sees self for who self is in order to transcend into new dimensions and higher vibrational aspects of self. I am content with the story. Who am I not to forgive humanity? God says, humanity, it is time to ascend and depart from our low vibrational consciousness, a survival consciousness, of lack consciousness, of judgment consciousness, of egotistical consciousness, a consciousness that can't perceive that everything is as it always has and should be, a consciousness that can't perceive that nature naturally flows and expands into new dimensions of nature, and the only thing that's stopping from nature from curing itself, the only thing that's stopping our bodies, our mentals, our emotional and spiritual selves from curing themselves is our low consciousness that says that everything isn't as it should be when it is. Why detachment is pertinent. Why detachment is pertinent and necessary for establishing the dream, the God-Goddess dream, in which God is manifesting through humanity for God's creation, which planet Earth, our humanity, our culture called humanity, is not separate in any way and has never been separate in any way from the rest of God's creation. Why is it pertinent and important for us, humanity, to, as individuals and as a collective, to practice detachment? All in which we know, all in which we partake in within our lives are in some facet, in some way, in some dimension, in some aspect attached to a timeline of our past. All of which we know, dimensions and aspects of our lives in some way are attached to dimensions and aspects of past timelines. And in all of the dimensions and aspects of past timelines are old stories. God is creating a new story for God's creation, for humanity. Humanity and God's creation have never been separate. It will never be separate. It is important to practice detachment from all things, people, places, all nouns, people, places, things. It's important to practice detachment from all people, places, and things, as well as your fixation on who you expect yourself to be, who you expect self to be. It's important to practice detachment, people, places, and things, and who you expect yourself to be, because all of our thoughts are in some way, some dimension, some aspect energetically attached to old timelines. God is creating a new timeline, new dimensionality for humanity of planet Earth, as well as for God's creation. Humanity of planet Earth, as well as God's creation, have never been and will never be separate. The only thing that gave the illusion of separation from God and ourselves, humanity and planet Earth, heavens and planet Earth, were our perceptions of reality, or our perceptions of ourselves. How do we establish a humanity of planet Earth with no famine? How do we establish a humanity of planet Earth with no disease? How do we establish a humanity of planet Earth with no poverty? How do we establish a humanity of planet Earth with divine beings who incarnate at will, who understand that they've always had the decision on when and where and how they would transcend the dimensionality of planet Earth? We understand that we know nothing, and we detach from all people, places, things, as well as our fixation on who we are or who we are to be. It is Friday, March 31st, 3:03 a.m. Friday, March 31st, 3:03 a.m. The year is 2023. I have firstly, I'm saying I have to and had to meet myself. I have to and had to meet myself. I have a disdain for my divine counterparts, or a disdain for God. I have a disdain for my divine counterpart, a disdain for God. I have to meet myself. I have to meet my truth. Humanity has a disdain for God. Humanity has a disdain for God. Humanity has had a disdain for God. Why? Creation. A component of creation is destruction. A centrifugal component of creation is destruction. In order to create anew, you have to break down, disintegrate, destroy what has been, or interrupt what has been. Interrupt what has been. Interrupt what has been. In order to create something anew, you have to interrupt what has been. I have a disdain for my divine counterpart, but for God. Why? When my divine counterpart came in, a year prior to my divine counterpart coming in, God said, you leave this aspect of yourself behind. You leave these karmic patterns that you have been perpetuating behind, and I will bring in your divine counterpart. I did not know. I wasn't awakened to the fact that my divine counterpart would trigger and catalyze me into the disruption of who I thought I was. And with me not being awakened to the fact that my twin flame, my divine counterpart, or God, will continue to disrupt and catapult me out of dimensions and aspects in which I thought were who I was. I asked Spirit, the other dimensions and aspects of myself, I asked God to assist me with transcending, alchemizing this disdain. I ask for clarity to come into peace with this disdain. I ask for an up-leveling in wisdom to transcend the disdain for the interruption of who I thought I was in every phase, every level of my life, and allow for the creation of the anew to unfold as the disdain that we hold for the interruption of who we thought we were stifles, stagnates the unfolding of the anew into our realities. So I am facing myself. I am facing myself or doing shadow work in order to up-level within myself, in order to transcend the illusions and limitations in which I volunteered on a soul level to transcend for the human collective, to open up new avenues to infinite paradigms for the human being of planet Earth. Limitless paradigms. Open up the avenues for limitless paradigms for the human being of planet Earth. I'm doing shadow work and I ask God, help me transcend this disdain that I have for my divine counterpart or myself or you as my divine counterpart is only a mirror for me to be able to see myself in ways in which the illusions or the boxes or my ego fortifies in order to keep me safe from truths in which would topple over the fortification of my ego, or the safety in which my ego has encased me within, or the limitations in which my ego has encased me within, as my ego has assisted me with creating this character, this paradigm in which my ego protects by reinforcing my thought patterns with thought patterns that reinforce the ego or character or paradigm that I created in order to keep myself safe. Divinely so, but God's like, it's time to transcend that character, Ashley. It's time to become who you truly are. It's time to be in your limitless, infinite energy in which you are in your truest truths. It's time for you to embody your goddess, God essence in which you are, in which humanity is in its truest truths. My divine counterpart mirrors to me dimensions and aspects in order for me to be able to see parts of myself that I need to transcend. My divine counterpart triggers archaic, ancient energies within myself that were perpetuated through hundreds, thousands of lifetimes. My divine counterpart and myself have ended each other's lives in past lives because of the threat that we posed seemingly to the paradigms or the characters or the lives that we created in the darkness. My divine counterpart and myself have ended each other's lives in past lifetimes when we met each other because we disrupted the paradigm that we created, the character, the ego, in which we constructed before we met light or our truth, or before we met the truth of God. What's the truth of God? Infinite possibilities. Our ego says there are limitations, and in order to protect our ego, those limitations, those paradigms that we created in the darkness, or our lack of knowledge of our wisdom, of our truth, of our truest truths, we construct these egos, and within these egos and these characters are these lives that we built through and with these egos, and which aren't our truest truths in past lifetimes. My divine counterpart and myself have ended each other's lives because of the threat that we posed to what we constructed before we met our truth, or before we met God. This lifetime, the character that I constructed says that I am feeble. The character that I constructed says that I am gullible. The character that I constructed says that I am a victim to this world. Little does my ego know or understand that I helped build every dimension and aspect of this world. The good, the bad, the ugly, the in-between. I assisted with the construction of every dimension and aspect of this world. I no longer fear any dimension and aspect of this world. Any evil that I meet external to myself is only a mirror to who I am. And as my angelic guides like to say, if I'm in a fight with the bear, protect the bear. If I'm in a fight with the bear, protect the bear. Any demon that I meet external to myself knows who I am. Any demon that I face external to myself knows who I am. And the strength of the energies within me that mirror that demon are the way those energies within me that mirror that demon bow to me, don't control me, but are constructed and conducted by myself in a way in which I understand that any energy external to myself that seeks to cause me harm is doing so out of amnesia and lack of understanding of the truth of self. As you don't understand Any weapon formed against me not only will not prosper, but any weapon formed against me will be turned on yourself 10 times fold. And this is something that I'm okay with now. I no longer fight with this understanding of myself. I no longer grapple with this understanding of myself, as Maha Avatar Babaji led me to understand. Any strife that we meet in this life is only meant to build us and shape us into more wise, more brilliant aspects and dimensions and selves. Any strifes that we meet are only meant to grow us into greater dimensions and aspects of ourselves. God asks me, why do you do the things that you do, Ashley? God is asking me, why do you do the things that you do, Ashley? The archaic patterns of old humanity says, I do the things that I do to survive or to thrive. My torturer became my remedy. My remedy was my torturer. All of the things in which we did, the energies that we operated off of within old humanity, with lower vibrational consciousness, survival consciousness, were the death of us. Literally killed us. Those energies killed us. They were designed to. They were designed to kill us. Our bodies are designed to last infinitely. Humanity wasn't ready for mass awakening to our infinite potentials. So humanity operated off of energies that were literally intended to kill us, and swiftly. We have communities and what we would perceive as utopias here on planet Earth that have beings that are thousands of years old, that have humans, beings, spiritual beings that are thousands of years old. We have civilizations, what we would perceive as utopias, here on planet Earth, modern day planet Earth, with beings that are thousands of years old, spiritual beings that are thousands of years old. Why? Because they understand that the only remedy in which they would ever need are their innate gifts or their soul. For millennia, humanity has operated off of energies that were intended to vanquish us or defeat us thoroughly, as these energies shorten our lifespans. As God says, humanity wasn't ready for the mass understanding that your souls, or your life force energy, which is seated in each and every human being, are intended to last us, survive us, manifest our realities for eternity. We have utopias, what we would perceive as utopias here on modern day planet Earth, with beings, spiritual beings that are thousands of years old. God is saying, humanity, it's time for your reality, your normality to be of spiritual beings that live, incarnate at will. How do we do this? We understand that the energies that we've been operating off of, with compassion for ourselves and others, with the utmost compassion and unconditional love for ourselves and others, with the utmost compassion for ourselves and others, we understand that the energies that we've been operating off of and making decisions through are energies which were intended to vanquish us or defeat us thoroughly. It is time for the amicable transition into our soul's operations, operating through our souls and not the energies that were intended to defeat us thoroughly It is time for the amicable transition into operating through the energies of our souls. How do we do this? Be compassionate and patient with ourselves and understand that this will not be an overnight quick fix. This will not be a trip to a week retreat. This will not be something you can purchase with money. This is you being unconditionally loving with yourself, compassionate with yourself, and others, as others are only a reflection of yourself. The date is April 2nd, 2023. My name is Ashley Nicole Phillips. This is the Kingdom Things podcast, installment entitled Questions I Don't Ask Self. I am doing shadow work or putting the pieces of the puzzle together, or looking at myself, looking into myself, going within to create a stronger bond with self or with God. The galactic concept of God is just that, a concept, as I have channeled before. The galactic concept of God or the universe is just that, a concept in which I channeled before. Humanity is being guided to go within in order to tap into dimensions and aspects of self that span far beyond the galactic concept of God or the universes, in order to assist with the harmonious union of all of God's creation. A harmony in which all of God's creation utilizes dimensions and aspects of said concepts and dimensions and aspects of God in order to balance and uplift each dimension and aspect of God. Our concept of God works in cyclical phases. Our concept of God works in cyclical phases. Our concept of God works in cyclical phases. All of the concepts within God do not work within cyclical phases. All of the concepts of God do not work within cyclical phases. The concepts of God have different synapses and precepts of understanding, which at this time Ashley is not able to channel because she has not traveled that far within herself, per God's plan, as every message in which she channels is channeled in the way in which God intended for her to channel the message. Every dimension and aspect of God, every concept of God's creation does not work in cyclical phases. Dear humanity, you are going through a cyclical phase in which you are experiencing much darkness and calamity within your dimensionality of creation, but understand this is a part of a phase. This is a pretty neat analogy in which Ashley came up with. She experienced a time at a carnival in which she got on a carnival ride in which she perceived to be less harmless or less exciting than what it actually was. She perceived or expected the ride to be slow and nice and easy. When she got on the ride rose from ground level up into the air and flipped upside down, which is something in which Ashley wasn't expecting. So she was frightened. She was afraid. She forgot it was just a ride. It was just fun. Ashley was at a carnival enjoying herself. And she got on a ride in which she did not expect to be as exhilarating as it was, as this ride was colorful. And at ground level, she sat down and buckled into the ride, and the ride rose into the air and began to gyrate and spin on its axis, spin and flip her beingness upside down. She was not expecting this. As she was not expecting this, she was fearful. She went into fear and forgot that it was just a carnival ride. It was only fun. Dear humanity, the darkness in which you have been experiencing for the last 20,000 plus years, the last many millennia, are a part of a cyclical phase within creation, within God. A cyclical phase, which is a part of a greater expansive creation, greater expansiveness called God, which is created for joy, created for fun. You volunteered to be on this planet. You volunteered to experience these dark times, these calamitous times. You volunteered to forget who you were for fun. Dear humanity, it's time to go within. Dear humanity, it is time to go within. Dear humanity, it is time to go within as the vibration of your planet is rising to support the rising of your consciousness in order to come into alignment with the higher vibrational understanding that you are on a ride or enjoying an experience that is supposed to be fun. Perspective. Our perspectives are our magic wands. Our perspectives are our magic wands. Our perspectives shape our realities. What if? Shifting the paradigm, the perspective, the top 1%, in which much of the world feels a victim to. What if the top 1% have just figured it out? What if the top 1% have the understanding that they manifest and control their realities by the way in which they manifest in their reality? The way in which they show up in their reality is the way in which their reality manifests itself. What if the top 1% aren't oppressing the rest of the world? What if the top 1% are waiting for the rest of the world to come to terms with who they are? What if that 1% whom knows who they are, manifestations, dimensions, and aspects of the Most High Creator or God, our Creator, with knowing that they're the dimensions and aspects of the Most High Creator, with God, our Creator, what if they have the understanding that we can only figure it out amongst ourselves, within ourselves? What if they made it out of the muck and mire of low consciousness and are waiting for the rest of humanity to rise and do the same? What if, instead of pointing our fingers and saying that they're oppressing us, what if we look within and realize that the only dissonance and oppression that we are experiencing is a dissonance and oppression within self? And this dissonance and oppression within self is causing the delay or gap between our realities of our wildest dreams and ourselves. What if? Karmic retribution is like ordering bruises for our children. We have to take responsibility so we can heal them. What does that mean, Ashley? Everything that transpires in our reality, we can no longer blame or order karmic justice by being upset, holding on to resentment and anger and fear towards others. We have to take accountability for everything that transpires in our reality, even if the things that transpire in our reality are generation-old energies or in a situation which you feel does not concern you. You must take accountability for all of the energies in which present in your reality in order to assist with the rectification of your reality, or the cleaning up of your reality, or the raising of the vibration up of your reality, or the raising of the vibration of your reality for your children, for the generations to come. So I'm doing some healing work on myself. My own personal powwow session with myself and God, my ancestors, to come into alignment with God's plan, highest divine plan for myself. To come into alignment with God's highest divine plan for myself, to come into alignment for God's highest divine plan for myself, and to come into further alignment with my soul, and in order to stop operating off of fear or my ego. So I'm doing some shadow work, right? And I'm watching a podcast, and energies that came up. What were the energies? Give me 1 second. Let me bring it up. It was energies about women being resentful for staying, like modern day women being resentful for staying home, having like resentful against the notion of staying home to raise a family, right? It's like women want to work. They want to work. They don't want to stay home and raise a family. Women want to work. The modern day woman, the quote unquote modern day woman, doesn't want to work. She doesn't want to raise a family. She doesn't want to stay home and raise a family. She wants to work, right? I'm being guided to say that one more time. The quote unquote modern day woman generally does not want to stay home and raise a family. She wants to work. And I was like, ooh, I resonate with that. I was like, I see those energies within myself. Ooh, I see those energies within myself. Resonates. Or have the understanding. I'm coming to further alignment with the understanding of, as I've channeled God's purpose for creating the woman is to be the wisdom bearer for her household, for her children, for her husband, to be the energy cultivator, to attract in all of the beautiful blessings for her household with her husband. That dynamic between the woman and her husband is to work as a team to attract abundance, wisdom, unconditional love for their unit, for the household, right? As a team, no part greater than the other, no part more important than the other, no part more pertinent than the other, as God really intends for the new human being, the perfect human being. God calls it the perfect human being. Ashley calls it human being 2.0. God says the perfect human being is a human being that within and of itself operates through its yin and yang energies, balanced yin and yang energies, or the perfect human being, angelic human being, the perfect angelic human being, the perfect angelic human being. One more time, God says the perfect angelic human being operates through its perfect balance of yin and yang energy within, or the perfect balance of divine masculine and divine feminine energies within. Both the man and the woman operate through the perfect divine balance of the divine feminine and divine masculine energy within. And those perfect angelic human beings come together for their household, for the unity of their household, for the unity of the world, as your household is a microcosmic emblem of the world, of God's whole creation. So God says the perfect human being operates off of the yin and yang within, or the divine feminine, divine masculine within, balanced energies within. Balanced energies meaning, will you always be in balance? No. But when you make decisions and you make your actions, you take your actions, you ensure to the best of your ability that you are in alignment within, or in alignment with your soul. How do you do that? Before you take actions within this world, before you take physical actions, you go within and you meditate on the actions that you are to take. Before you take physical actions within this world, you go within and you meditate on the actions in which you are to take. Before you take physical actions in this world, you sit with yourself, you go within and you meditate on the actions in which you are to take. So the notion, the modern day, I want to say I have energies within me that are resistant to that. Going within it to consult with my soul before I take actions. I will say that to have the utmost accountability for myself. There are energies within me that are resistant to that. Sitting with myself and aligning my energy before I take action. I take accountability for that. So the modern day human being, the modern day woman has energies within of being, of staying home to raise a family, right? God says, God's plan is you create your dream as you want. You create your reality as you would like. If the woman doesn't want to stay home, if there's two women in the house, two men in the house, a woman and a man in the house. If you don't want to stay home to raise your family, your dream will play out as you intend for it to be in your highest reality, or your soul's plan, or your highest timeline. Myself, God's aligning me with my highest timeline. I want to stay home and raise my children. I want to work from home a majority of the time. That's right up my alley. Like, I want to stay home and raise my children. I'm going to have to get into further alignment with my soul and allow myself to, be away from home a good amount of the time sometimes. I'm gonna have to get in alignment with that, because that's gonna be, I'm channeling right now. That's a part of my calling. I am gonna be away from home a good amount of the time sometimes, but the times when I'm away from home, it'll be in a space in which my children and my husband are understanding and are 10 toes down in their divinity. So they're good. They're good, and they know that mama loves you. Your wife loves you wherever she is on this planet, because y'all are one. We're going to be 10 toes down in that understanding. We're going to check in with each other and love each other unconditionally. Even if we have energies that come up that are adverse to this understanding, we're going to love each other unconditionally. So me getting into alignment with my soul, I have to transcend these energies in which don't want to stay home, to rebel, rebelling and don't want to stay home to raise my children, because I do want to do that. I know the importance of it. It's important, women, that we raise our children. It's important that we heal ourselves. Ooh, let me say that. It's important that we go within and heal ourselves. It's important that we go within and heal ourselves. It's important that we go within and heal ourselves. Healing ourselves is aligning with our soul. Healing ourselves is aligning with our soul. Healing ourselves is aligning with our souls. How do we align with our souls? We sit with ourselves to come into greater conscious awareness of our intuition and make our choices through that higher conscious awareness of our intuition in order to come further into balance, internal balance, or further alignment with our soul or God or goddess. So part of my journey is healing. I'm being guided to say that 2 more times. So how do we come into alignment with our internal harmony, internal balance, come to alignment with our soul? We sit with ourselves in order to take heed to our intuition, to come further into alignment with our souls. We sit with ourselves to come into further alignment with our intuition, to take heed to our souls in order to align to God, Goddess, in order to align with God, Goddess, in order to align with God, Goddess. So I want to raise my children because I know that God created the woman we hold the keys to the universe. We hold the blueprint for our realities, for God's highest plans for our realities. And we have to teach our children that they are dimensions and aspects of God. They are gods and goddesses, in order for them to align with higher conscious awareness throughout their lives and make the choices in which they want to reflect into their lives. It's important that we raise our children with the understandings that we find within ourselves and that we practice in and of ourselves. So I'm transcending these energies that don't want to stay home and take care of raise my children, that want to be out, working. There's nothing wrong with that. But for my story, I want to raise my children into their independence. I want to help them into their independence. Be patient.